is Bryn Boice. I am the Associate Artistic Director of Commonwealth Shakespeare Company. Thank you for joining us today for our first installment of Much Ado About Much Ado, a new series that takes a look inside our upcoming production of Much Ado About Nothing, opening July 20th on the Boston Common. Today, I'm going to be chatting with Director Megan Sandberg-Zakian about her process and concept for this summer's comedy. For our patrons using audio describe services, and for those of you listening along, I have blondish, shoulderish length hair, and I'm wearing round glasses and a black cardigan sweater. I'll have our guests self-describe when they turn on their camera. Before we start, I would like to take a moment to recognize the Indigenous land on which we reside as an expression of appreciation, awareness, and gratitude. I am currently in Weymouth, Mass, and Megan is in Jamaica Plain on colonized land in the traditional tribal territory of the Pawtucket and Massachusetts peoples. We'd also like to acknowledge that the digital technology we're using together today is not available in many Indigenous communities. To learn more about CSC's work towards racial equity, including this process of land acknowledgement, please visit comshakes.org/LA for land acknowledgement. Today's program is free, but we do hope you'll consider a donation of $10 or any amount that is meaningful to you to support our artists this summer. To donate, visit comshakes.org/donate. In these continuing uncertain times, your support of the arts is more important than ever. Now, CSC is best known for its annual free Shakespeare on the Boston Common. We are putting together an outstanding production of Much Ado About Nothing to share with you this year, directed by Megan Sandberg-Zakian, my guest today, and featuring an amazing cast that we will be announcing very, very soon. But let's introduce Megan now. Come on down. Hi. Great. Would you like to introduce yourself, Megan?
Yeah. Thanks, Bryn. I'm Megan Sandberg-Zakian. I use she, her pronouns, and it's Zoom, so I can look at myself to audio describe myself. Had self view turned off. I just turned it back on. I have brown hair pulled back in a ponytail. I'm wearing tortoiseshell glasses and like a blue flowered shirt.
Awesome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I have to start our discussion today by gushing a little bit about the collaboration process that we've already begun having with you. I find it very exciting working with you, and I have been saying I find your style mysterious because you're both like chill and laid back, but also sort of laser focused and clear. And I just am so excited to see how your style translates to the Boston Common and this show that we're doing this summer. And I'd also like to know, I'm really excited to see how that style lends itself to Shakespeare. Can you talk to us a little bit about your relationship, if any, to Shakespeare?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for that. I think I want to put that on my resume, your description of my process. That was awesome.
Go, it's all yours.
Great. Yeah, my relationship to Shakespeare is that, well, when I was like 14 years old, I was mustard seed in a musical version of A Midsummer Night's Dream using all like 50s and 60s pop songs.
I love it.
So that was exciting. But as a director, actually, I'm primarily a new play director, and so I haven't gotten to do a ton of Shakespeare. But I got some of my like what I think is really good training in Shakespeare, partially from being a new play director, because I started my career at an organization called the 52nd Street Project in New York City. That the main work of the organization is making new plays with children from the Hell's Kitchen neighborhood. So, like starting at age 9, kids would write plays and they'd be performed by professional actors. So I was doing new plays with very young playwrights. That was my first job out of college. And the kids would there was sort of a stair step of programs through the organization. They started out being 9 years old writing plays, progressed through a number of different sort of more progressively more complicated kind of artistically, aesthetically more ambitious projects as they got older. And the biggest project that they did at the end when they were in high school was performing a full Shakespeare play and touring it. And sometimes we actually toured them internationally,
Oh,
which
that's so
was
cool.
really cool. And so I got my training in Shakespeare really like with these teens from Hell's Kitchen who had been making theater since they were 9 years old. And I learned like the Shakespeare and Company dropping in method by doing it with teenagers, and I got to the entire concept of that work was, why is this play relevant to like being 15 years old in Hell's Kitchen? So every play that we did was through that lens, and so I think that's how I come to it, like Shakespeare as interesting new text to be encountered by whoever we are, wherever we are, and so it still feels kind of fresh and like novel to me in a way.
That's so cool. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
The idea that you're approaching it as a new text versus something that is old and to be revered and done a certain way, I think that's exciting, and feels like it's a very CSC. It's part of our ethos to do that, which I love that. I'd love to get your take on Much Ado in particular, this particular classic sort of love-hate comedy story. Would you like to talk to us about what you like about this play?
Yeah, I love the play. I really like the fact that it is certainly, I think on balance, it is a delightful comedy, and it also has some like really dreadful, dark stuff in it. And I very much, I'm very energized by that balance, and that, or I guess that tension really, that I find that very productive kind of tension in storytelling, that you can't get to the most sort of beautiful and joyful things excuse me, in our human experience without having walked through the darker, more difficult things. So when I was first reading the play, when you and Steve came to me and said, think about Much Ado About Nothing, and I was doing my assignment of thinking about Much Ado About Nothing, and the first questions that came up for me were, what is the deal with Claudio? Like, why is Claudio so volatile, both in his so intense, kind of both in his love, in his experience of love, and also his experience of this imagined betrayal. That was the first question I had, and the second question was, why don't Beatrice and Benedick feel comfortable like actually dropping into their love for each other? You know, these are these sort of two things that are really taken for granted that are at the heart of this play, but I kind of was confused by both of them. Right. And the whole play like depends on these two things being true, right? Yeah. So for Claudio, Shakespeare has written a soldier returning from war. And so as soon as I really dropped into that, I was like, oh, right. Okay. That explains why someone's emotions would be turned up to this level. The trauma of having been in a combat situation, he's literally walking out of a combat situation and encountering Hero and falling in love with her. So, that helped me understand that character and give me a lot of empathy for a character that sometimes I have trouble empathizing with, because he treats other people so badly in the play. And then for Beatrice and Benedick, so once I started thinking about this, the Claudio thing in combat, I thought, okay, they're coming back from this war, they've won the war. There's a kind of like energy, it's kind of like, oh, we won the war energy, you know? And I was like, when was that in this country? And it felt like the last time was in the early 90s, coming back from the first Gulf War. This sense of like, you know, 100 days on the ground and we're victorious, you know, kind of thing. Yeah. And so then I started thinking about the early 90s and my feelings in the early 90s, and as a queer person who was like very much not out or even out to myself as a kid and as a young adult, I which I was not a young adult in the early 90s. Um, I was a mere child.
I was.
Uh, um, I just I had the I had the pleasurable imagining of like, what if Beatrice and Benedick were both women? To me, that gives me some insight into why it doesn't quite feel safe for them to admit their feelings for each other, and also why it feels more possible for them to admit those feelings with some support from their community. You know, with some. I mean, often the support is often sort of framed as like harassment or like egging on from their community, but I do think there's a kind of permission that's granted by those scenes where, you know, Beatrice's friends have loud conversations that she's meant to overhear about how much Benedick likes her, you know, and vice versa. And there's just something so moving to me about the idea that if there's something in the socio-political that's translated itself, you know, that you've internalized, what it might be like to see a way through that and open the door to some feelings that you have. So yeah, so that was the start for me of really getting excited about this production. Early 90s setting, both the war part and the sort of like fun poppy part of it, and thinking about Beatrice and Benedick both being women, and seeing how that informs this fun courtship and combative courtship that they have.
I love it. I'm so excited. And I mean, not to spill any beans, but the people that you have cast are amazing. So I'm not gonna say any names just yet, but just for the general public to know, the audition made me cry. They were just so awesome together. So I'm really excited about that. And I'd love to talk to you sort of on that note about the sort of nature of collaboration with this concept that you have created between you and your design team. I'd love to talk like sort of macro, how you usually work with designers, but then micro, how you are working on this particular production with them.
Yeah, well, I love designers. It's just such a joy to get to sit in a room or a virtual room with people who have such huge imaginations, you know, visual, auditory imaginations, and just ideate with them. So I think basically how I work with designers is sort of just how I'm talking to you right now. Like, I love the play and here's what I'm thinking and here's some of my ideas. And then they, you know, respond to that. And we go back and forth a little bit about what kind of world we're talking about and what that might mean. And we look at images and we listen to stuff and have a kind of take a little journey through all the different possible imaginings of what this could be, and eventually land on one, or, you know, more than one, I don't know. But yeah, it's just, I feel so lucky to have, to get to spend time with incredibly creative, brilliant artists, and designers are some of my favorites. And the early work with designers always very much informs my way of working with actors and my thinking about the storytelling. So yeah, my approach has already changed a lot in even just in the design conversations we've had. So the place that we're at right now is we've done, we're sort of almost to a scenic design. We're in the sort of later stages of getting something that will be the scenic design. We're in the early stages of the other design areas, and then we've been working on a graphic design concept and like marketing concept too. And can I show you something?
Yes,
okay.
please.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna show you. So the graphic designer was brilliant. Solon, and he kind of like he actually works very textually, text-based. Like he would listen to what I was saying and take the different, you know, he was like, okay, it's fun, it's quirky, it's queer, it's bright, it's it's intense, or I don't even remember if these were the words that I said, but he really worked from my ideating. So, and I thought it was so cool what he came up with. So let's see, I'm gonna try to share my screen. Okay, can you see that?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so cool. So this is what he was like the research, the pop culture and entertainment research, vibrant and loud.
Yes.
I guess those are two things that I maybe said. And in living color, yeah. And then this was the bold and fun, some of the fashion, pop culture, and I think, yeah, I'm gonna. This was actually another concept we didn't end up using as much. And I just want to show one more slide, two more slides. Oh, I love this. So he was looking at like, what is the color palette? What might the color palette be? And I love this one. I love the sort of looking at what the shapes might be in the graphic design, and what the kind of like what the architecture might be. So he wants sort of like research, color, shape, and then, I won't share the final things. I'm assuming that people need to have something to look forward to. But I just love that way of working. I thought it was so cool and inspirational for the other design areas too. And then working with the Scenic Designer, I was talking a lot about, now this is going to sound like these things are completely not related to each other at all, but I was talking about Newport mansions. I was talking about like classic Italian architecture, since the play is like supposedly in Italy.
Yeah.
And then I was talking about the movie The Birdcage, and like early 90s, like gay over the top sort of nightlife, the nightclub in the Birdcage. And so I'm gonna see if I can show you some images that, oh wait, share screen. Here's the can you see that? Wait, can you see that?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's the Breakers in Newport. It's the Newport mansion. Yeah. And then there's is that the same one? It's a different one. Another Newport mansion. And then this is like the what are they called? The big steps in the middle of
it kind of looks like Vegas to me.
Yeah,
but
it's like a, I don't remember it's actually in Vegas, but it's like a Vegas style recreation of the that like huge set of steps in the middle of, I don't know if it's Florence or Rome or whatever. So I was, and so then we started playing around with, and here's another view of that, which I just love, right? So it was like the idea of what if like a Newport mansion meets a nightclub that's theme is Italian Renaissance. So the Scenic Designer whose research images I was just showing is Lawrence Moton. The other designers are brilliant, and there's a lot of them, so I won't list all of their names since I didn't show their images, but just rest assured you're going to love their work.
It's a great crew.
It's an amazing crew. And then, you asked about the actors or the feeling of the cast. I mean, I don't know that I have a sense of like, my basic feeling is like they're amazing actors. And so I'm very excited about it. I kept saying to myself that I was going to get people who knew a lot more about Shakespeare than I did. And I feel like I've done a great job of that. So I'm excited about them, and the majority of them, I think all but one of them are local to the greater Boston area, and they're just really, I think for my money, like they're really funny, and they do a great job with embodying big feelings, and for me that's like, to be able to step with a lot of heart and also a lot of access to things that are more difficult in the material, and also be funny while doing it.
Yeah.
That's what I think that this cast really brings.
That's great. Yeah, amazing actors, lots of heart. I agree with you on that. It's really great. Well, this is amazing. I'm so excited to see this production come to life this summer. I think it is going to be incredible. And this is definitely a really great play for this moment, full of joy and super smart, as are you. So with that, I'm just going to say, hey, folks, stay tuned for more info as Much Ado comes together, and big news will come shortly. Megan, it was fantastic having you on Much Ado about Much Ado tonight for our director edition. Stay tuned for more. And as we wrap up, folks, please don't forget to follow us on social media. Our handle is @ComShakes, to stay informed about our other upcoming events and all things Much Ado. Many thanks to all who've joined us. Thank you, Megan. Bye, all.
Thanks, Bryn.
Bye.
Bye.